Oh, I want that on mine. Oh, I can't grab it. 1 second. All right. Hello. I'm Molly. I'm going to do a walkthrough of some analysis that I've done on traffic stops in Illinois, and I'm just going to kind of speed through it. It's going to be a lot faster than I would normally do this. You can ask me questions later if you like. Okay, so last year there was over 2 million traffic stops in Illinois. Every time someone was pulled over, a police officer fills out this form. They record the driver's race, the reason for the stop, whether that person was searched or not, if they were, was contraband found, what was the result of the stop. So what we're looking at here, I've been working with the ACLU of Illinois on this, and also I also have a data science background. So is there evidence of racial bias in this data set? So we needed to frame it in another way because that's a really ambiguous question and it doesn't really have a firm number answer. So are minority drivers more likely to be stopped, searched, or cited than white drivers? So I'm also going to look at Chicago a bit to put things in context, as well as everything across Illinois. I'm just going to throw up what the demographics of stops looks like for Chicago. As you can see, of the stops that occurred, 60% had black drivers. So what people often want to do is they want to compare that to the population of the city. So for that example, 30% black residents. So that's a pretty big difference. So what people often want to do when they see something like that is they want to create a stop rate and visualize that. They want to see what's the stop rate. But there's a lot of problems actually with creating this stop rate and using that alone to imply bias. So I'm going to talk about some of those issues. So one issue would be that the driving population does not equate the city population. First of all, you don't really know who's driving, who's taking the metro, etc. Additionally, that would be assuming that every single stop that occurred was an individual person, whereas there could be someone that was pulled over 20 times, right? So you don't really know what the driving population is. The form that the police officer fills out, they guess the race, whereas on the census, that is self-reported. So that's the difference. Additionally, on the census, Hispanic is a ethnicity rather than a race. You select whether or not you're Hispanic, and then also a race. And so on the form that the police officer fills out, it's listed as a race. So that makes it hard also to compare. So we did not do that. We did not actually create a stop rate because we felt like that would be very misleading. And to visualize that comparison would make people think we had information we didn't. So we moved on and we focused on things that happened after the stop actually happened. So we looked at search rate. I'm not actually going to go over citations, there's not time, but so I'll just talk really quickly about searches. So first we'll look at Chicago. What you're looking at here is the search rates for Chicago. So if you're looking at the Hispanic bar, what that's saying is for the Hispanic drivers pulled over, 1.8-ish% were searched. So what you can do also is you can put this on a plot to see what everyone in Chicago looks like. So first I'm going to just put Chicago up, and I'll explain what this is showing. If you want to compare let's say the Hispanic search rate to the white search rate and put it on a plot, you'll see that Hispanic drivers were searched 4 times more often. So it's at the 4 times line. Black drivers were searched over twice as often. And you can, this is just explaining. I'm going to move past that. It'll be on the blue line if it's about equal. So here's all of the agencies in Illinois. I'm going to go ahead and let those expand so you can see them better. This is where I want to really quickly talk about statistical significance. Actually, it's hard to make much sense of this graph as it is. You might have one particular story in mind, but I don't think you have the full story if you don't actually know which of these agencies have rates that are where the minority rate is statistically significantly different than the white rate. So what we did is we used opacity to show that. So if something is fully opaque, that means it is statistically significantly different for that minority rate versus the white rate. And if it's transparent, that means that it's not statistically different. So it makes sense that everything along that parity line is pretty transparent. This is just to show that like each of these are an agency. So like some examples of agencies: Chicago Police, Springfield Police, Peoria Police, Cook County Sheriff, and Illinois State Police, for example. So one last thing I'll mention is at this point people want to start, sometimes people might say, well, maybe a particular group is searched more by a police officer in a particular agency because that police officer has a certain amount of experience that shows that it makes sense that they find more contraband with a certain group, okay? So to kind of go against that response that people might have, we looked at the hit rates, contraband hit rates, whether or not contraband was found. So here again is the searches for Chicago, and here are the actual hit rates. So you can see that although the search rates for Hispanic and Black drivers are far more than the white rate, they are less as far as hit rates go. The other thing to notice too is actually none of these are statistically significantly different, which is still saying something in support of the fact that this doesn't make sense, right? So if you want to then put this on a plot for all agencies, and we'll do the same thing as before, and look at the significance. So you can see that if you look at these hit rates across agencies, pretty much every single agency, the hit rates are not statistically different for the minority comparison to the white rate. And where they are statistically significantly different, the minority rates are actually lower. So that is all I'm going to walk through with that. Some takeaways I just want to throw out is like to really think through the data, because you don't want to make a visualization that isn't what they seem. When we were doing this, we had a lot of people say, I really want to see the hit or the stop rate. Like, I want to hear more about that. But like, it wouldn't have been what they thought it was. So we chose not to. We thought that would be way too misleading. Also, where applicable, keep statistical significance in mind because it can change the story that you're telling. Also, this is going to be a website. We have put all this on a site so that people can look at the different agencies and see what everything looks like for that agency. It's not live yet. I think by the end of the month it will be. And that's my Twitter, so if you want to hear about when it comes out, if you follow me, I will for sure tweet about it. So that's it. Thanks.